What's going on, Jerome's? A lot of storylines swirling around the Minnesota Vikings heading into the 2023 NFL season as we enjoy this blissful summer break. But we wanted to go through some of the storylines that are pumped up a little bit too much and some storylines that are flying under the radar. So we have overhyped and underhyped storylines for the Vikings. Overhyped storyline number one. No Cousins. Cousins. Yeah, Kirk Cousins. Not cousin like, I don't know, like your mom's sister's kid. But no Kirk Cousins extension talks, and this is a whole to-do about a week ago, where it was Kirk Cousins saying that he's going to shelve contract extension talks, he's going to focus on the season, and the contract will take care of itself next offseason. And to a degree, I mean, it is kind of a big deal because the Vikings don't know who the quarterback of the future is going to be in 2024. The Vikings cannot franchise tag Kirk Cousins because, well, number one, it would be his third tag, so the cost would be prohibitive. It would be around $52 million per year. And also, since his contract has void years, it would actually void after that window for the franchise tag. But either way, if Kirk balls out here, they'll find a way to get it done. They'll find a way to extend him, even though if they do let him go, it's $28.5 million dead on the cap in 2024. But if Kirk is that guy and he still has a couple of good years left in him and he doesn't fall off a cliff a la Matt Ryan, it's possible. I mean, not to use Tom Brady as a barometer, but Brady played into his mid-40s. But I think a more apt comparison would be Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon was NFL MVP at age 37 with the 2002 Raiders, had a Super Bowl appearance, got his ass kicked in the Super Bowl, but whatever. It's almost like John Gruden knew the offense or something. But Cousins is 34, going to turn 35 in August, so we'll just go from there. But I think the whole talk was like, walking away from the table. Nah, not a big deal. Also not a big deal. No Jefferson extension. So it's a little bit overhyped. Because, superstar receiver, going to be the highest paid receiver in NFL history, probably the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history as well. But Jefferson, he still has 2 years left on his deal. The Vikings are in fine salary cap shape this year, and Jefferson has said that he's not going to be holding out a training camp even if he doesn't get a new deal. So that takes the starch out of the storyline, really takes the drama out of it, and it'll get done. It's one of those spots where Kwesi's not stupid. He understands he has the best wide receiver in the league, and in a passing league, that is certainly important. So the contract will get done when it gets done. Next overhype, number 3. Lewis Cine with the twos. So a lot of people have read too much into this, where Brian Flores likes using multiple safeties, and that is going to be a big part of the Vikings' defensive attack this year. It's going to be Harrison, Cam Beasley, Josh Metellus has been that third safety, playing a big nickel, sort of a floater type role, sort of a sweeper in the back end of that defense, which is great. But a lot of people have said, well, Lewis Cine has been playing with the twos. Yeah. They're working him back in slowly. He's less than a year removed from that horrific compound fracture of his leg. He's looked good movement-wise, but certainly don't want to put too much on his plate. Now, he has made some plays. He had a nice interception, twos versus twos, during mandatory minicamp, and I still think that his role down the line will be replacing Harrison Smith. I think stylistically they sync up pretty similarly, and I think that will be the role for him moving forward, where people talk about, Bynum is starting over Lewis Cine. They're two different safeties. Well, Metellus is starting over Lewis Cine. They're two different safeties. Lewis Cine, I think, is going to have a big role in this defense going forward, and I wouldn't sweat him being with the two, especially at this stage of the offseason. Next up, overhyped number 4, Jaron Hall at QB2. Overhyped number 2. Number 4, Jaron Hall at QB2. So a lot of talk about him coming in as a 5th-round pick out of BYU. Looked good at rookie camp, was a true leader out there. But, I mean, Nick Mullins is quarterback 2 right now, and Nick Mullins is an absolutely rock-solid veteran quarterback, the type of guy that can be a caretaker if poop does hit the fan. And Jaron Hall, he does have talent, but it's going to take some time. Give him a training camp. Give him some preseason games to be able to show his mettle. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And frankly, if Jaron Hall came in at OTAs or mandatory minicamp and supplanted Nick Mullins, that says more about Nick Mullins than Jaron Hall. So I ain't sweating it. If Jaron Hall is destined to be QB2 and maybe quarterback of the future, it'll happen. Next up, overhyped number 5. Who will be wide receiver 2? So this is a big talking point too. So Adam Thielen, gone, cut and signed with the Panthers. Now all the talk is like, will it be KJ Osborne? Will it be Jordan Addison? It doesn't really matter because they're both going to get work. And even though the Vikings are going to have a lot more heavier packages and a lot, as well as run a lot more 12 personnel, I think the Vikings are still going to have a significant usage of 11 personnel 3 wide, where the Vikings were amongst the league leaders last year in terms of 3 wide personnel. And Addison and Osborne, they're both going to get theirs. And I think that it's going to be a healthy competition where they push each other to get better, and every single rep matters. Every single snap and target matters. So I think that their competition is only going to bring out the best of them. Same thing with Jalen Speedy Naylor tossed in that combination as well. So I don't think there has to be an official wide receiver 2. It wouldn't shock me at all if Addison and Osborne end up having similar target numbers at the end of the season, at the end of the day. Next up, overhyped storyline number 6. Really good accounting today for the Vikings. How will they replace Dalvin? And I think it is going to be run back by committee. Last year Dalvin was the bell cow. Madison was basically just a backup. But I think that even though Madison is going to be the lead dog here, I think that is going to be a bit of a run back by committee. Ty Chandler, I think, is going to get his on some passing downs. Dwayne McBride may sneak in there on some early downs. King Kenny could be sprinkled in there as well. So I'm not concerned about replacing Dalvin. I think that this running back room is extremely talented. One of the better and deeper running back rooms in the league, and they'll certainly be fine there. Next up, number 7, cornerback room questions. Now, a lot of talk is like, how will they replace Patrick Peterson and Cameron Dantzler and Duke Shelley and all that stuff? They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Like Byron Murphy Jr. is going to come in. He's going to be a stud on the inside and the outside. Caleb Evans has already sort of separated himself a little bit. He played extremely well last year. I think that if he can stay healthy, he can be that guy again. Mekhi Blackman's got some run with the ones, both inside and outside. Booth has all the talent in the world if he can stay healthy. And I think that the Vikings do have a very deep and talented cornerback room, and the best player will win. And, Flores ain't going to broke no BS. The best player is going to be out there. It's not going to be politics, not going to be draft stats, it's not going to be money about anything. I'm not worried about the Vikings cornerback room at all. And lastly, overhyped storyline number 8, veteran departures. So a lot has been made about, the Vikings are, blowing things up. So Patrick Peterson signed a 2-year, $14 million deal with the Steelers. Dantzler was waived, and then the commies waived him, and now he's with the Bills. Then Thielen signed a 3-year, $25 million deal, $14 million guaranteed with the Panthers. Kendricks signed a 2-year deal with the Chargers. Diesel Dalvin, $14 million per with the Browns. Sure. Irv, Shelley, Chris Boyd, all gone. Which of these players would you have brought back at significant money? None at all. And a lot of people are saying, the Vikings were a 13-win team with all this veteran leadership that they let walk out the door. Well, it's a double-edged sword, because you're saying that the Vikings won all these games as a fluke with, aged veteran players, but now you're saying they let go of those older, slower veteran players with bad contracts, but now they got worse? Nah, ain't buying that at all. And then to the underhyped storylines, Vikings questions at linebacker. So I have all the faith in the world in Asamoah as well as Ivan Pace Jr., but Jordan Hicks, he's fine on early downs. Is he a liability in passing situations? Yes. And Dye and Kwenku and Reeder, is that really depth that you're happy about? Probably not. Underhyped storyline number 2, Danielle Hunter is only 28. And I know it's very fashionable right now to trade Danielle Hunter, get what you can get from. No, pay Danielle Hunter. Danielle is 28. He turns 29 in late October. Last year, 10.5 sacks. He led the league in pressures on 3rd and 4th downs. So he's a guy who learned a new defense on the fly, can still bring it, prove that he can stay healthy, because, again, the herniated disc was a fluke in 2020. Hasn't had neck issues since then. The torn pec could happen to any player. He doesn't have any chronic health issues. And in 2018, 2019, he had back-to-back 14.5 sack seasons. So Danielle Hunter, and also in 2019, he was 2nd in the league in pressures. So Danielle Hunter, any player that you bring in, you pray, you hope is half the player that Danielle Hunter is. And he's firmly in his prime. He's been underpaid for a number of years. Yes, it is his damn fault for signing that stupid contract. But guess what? Take care of him. He'll take care of you over the next years. Don't let Danielle Hunter out that damn door, man. Next up, underhyped storyline number 3, offensive line health. So, the Vikings did it's really shocking how good the offense was last year, considering that they had a number of injuries. Darisaw missed time twice with separate concussions. Ezra got dinged up. Bradbury had that back issue. Ed Ingram played every single snap. Great. But hopefully he'll improve this year. Brian O'Neill obviously had that Achilles, but knocking on all the wood, if Vikings can keep those 5 in some semblance, maybe Brian O'Neill doesn't start the season, but Oli Udoh's was fine at right tackle. If they can keep continuity up front and Cooper and Rascati can really get things going, I'm hyped to see what this offense can be, because it's amazing Kirk Cousins set career highs and records behind a shoddy offensive line where he faced career high in pressures and sacks. But just imagine what this offense can be with a good offensive line. Next up, underhyped number 4. The fun of Hockenson and Oliver. Now, I don't think people appreciate how good of a signing Josh Oliver was, because he's basically a 6 offensive lineman. He's going to help out the offensive line. He's going to be solid in the red zone. He's got really soft hands. And Hockenson is going to be freed up to do Hockenson things. And the mismatch of the 12 personnel we've outlined before. If you take the field with 2 tight ends, if the defense stays in base defense, guess what? You spread it out, you audible, you chuck the ball. And guess what? If they come out in nickel, you run it down their damn throat. It's gonna be fantastic, man. Next up, underhyped storyline number 5, the continuity of specialists. So you have Greg Joseph. You have a UDFA in there too, but he's nothing to write home about. But Greg Joseph, you have the best punter in the world in Ryan Wright, as well as Andrew DePaulo, the ageless long snapper, bagels, getting things done, man. And the continuity of having the snapper, the holder, the kicker, all together for a second year in a row. It's fantastic. And, Greg Joseph had his issues last year. Hopefully he can iron things out. DePaulo was all pro as a long snapper, which is fantastic. And Ryan Boomer Wright is quickly becoming one of the best strong arm punters in the game. And he's got touch too, which is fantastic. Next up, underhyped storyline number 6. The defensive line is in flux. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, where the Vikings lost Diesel Dalvin Tomlinson because the Browns paid him $70 bajillion, sure. But they brought back Bullard, I'm fine with. They brought in Dean Lowry, who's a fine veteran stopgap. But I'm looking at guys like Asazio Tamuo, Jaquelin Roy, even UDFA Calvin Avery, and also Kairos Tonga to come in and really make some noise up front in this Brian Flores system, where everything starts and ends with the nose tackle up front with Flores. And, Harrison Phillips is great, but he's not really a true zero-tech nose tackle. Maybe Kairos Tonga can be that guy. Maybe Phillips plays more in 4-man fronts or plays some 5-tech somewhere in there. But I'm really hyped about Jaquelin. I'm really hyped about Asazi, and also Calvin Avery as a mountain of a man from Illinois as well, even though they don't have any mountains in Illinois. They don't have mountains in Illinois. Wait, I'm sure people will correct me. I'm sure that they have like a hill or a bluff that they call a mountain in Illinois. Whatever. Anyways, next up, underhyped storyline number 7. Kevin O'Connell play calling continuity. Now, the Vikings haven't had the same play caller 2 years in a row since Norvell, a couple of years into the Zimmer tenure. So this is really big. And Kirk Cousins hasn't had the same play caller 2 years in a row during his tenure with the Vikings, going back to 2018. And Kevin O'Connell already has the offense installed, can grow and show, can recalibrate what his players do well, and ease off what they don't. And this is going to be just a beautiful reduction. This is going to be a true demi-glace of what's going to be glazed all over this offense, man. I'm really excited to see what Kevin O'Connell can do, especially if he has a consistent short running game, which the Vikings did not have last year, where Kevin O'Connell constantly going empty backfield or shotgun on 3rd and inches, 4th and inches, which drove me absolute bat bleep insane. But with CJ Ham in the fold and Madison and Josh Oliver, I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Lastly, underhyped storyline number 8, Brian Flores' impact on the defense. Now, I feel like this is both overhyped and underhyped because it gets talked about a lot, but I don't think that people realize the night and day shift this is going to be in terms of mentality with coming in from the Donatello defense last year, where Flores don't give a fudge. He's going to be in your face. He's going to dictate what the offense does. He's going to blitz. He's going to get after things. He's going to disguise coverages. He's going to use multiple personnel packages. And guess what? Maybe the Vikings end up being middle of the table, 16th, 17th in terms of total defense. Don't care. They're going to get sacks. They're going to get interceptions. They're going to make game-changing plays. And they're not just going to sit back and let the offense do whatever the hell they want, like the Chantel defense, especially in that wild card game against Dana freaking Jones and the stupid Giants. So, yeah, I again, it's both overhyped and underhyped because people recognize it, but it's going to be so great. It's going to be so great. We are going to bring the heat. We're going to bring the thunder. It's going to be chef's kiss, man. Chef's kiss. But that's it. That's some overhyped and underhyped storylines for the Vikings heading into the 2023 season. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.